Hey guys, what's going on? It's B3 here, and this is going to be my very first video on my wife and I's channel about classic World of Warcraft. And what this is going to be is our first video in a series that I am going to start to call Highs and Lows of Vanilla World of Warcraft. So what is that exactly, right? Well, it's basically exactly what I'm saying. It's the highs and lows from everything regarding races, classes, zones, everything you can think of about classic World of Warcraft. I'm going to go into detail about what I think is a high and a low. And I think this is going to be good because it's going to be a real hard look back at classic World of Warcraft. I and a lot of other people have nostalgia for classic World of Warcraft and tend to look past what was a serious flaw and even tend to look back at it as being a great thing. But I'm going to go back and play through what I can so that I can make this series for you guys. Hopefully you guys like it. You can let me know about what I think should be placed in the highs, the lows of everything. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with Classic Teldrassil, or the Night Elf starting zone. And the reason we're going to start off with Classic Teldrassil is that my very first character ever back in 2005 was a Night Elf Druid. I think many people, as soon as they watched the Classic World of Warcraft cinematic trailer, knew from that point that they saw the Night Elf Druid running through the forest, running, jumping over rivers, and just immediately in midair turning into a giant cat, that the Druid was what they were going to play. And for my 11, 12-year-old self, it was just too much to handle. It was too cool. There was no hope. There was no hope for any other race, any other class. I was going to be a Night Elf Druid. Funny story about me personally too is that I didn't even know that Tauren could be druids, excuse me, in Classic World of Warcraft. I searched quickly through all the races and classes and tried to distinguish what exactly was, because I didn't know that the one that could shapeshift and turn into a cat was a druid, but it was. And once I realized that it was a druid, I thought that only night elves could be it. But it didn't matter for me. It didn't matter at the time. I was going to be a night elf druid regardless. So we're going to start off with the lows in our series today of high and low Teldrassil. And there's only a few, but we're going to go into why I think that these things I'm about to discuss fall into the low category. I mean, they're either going to be placed in high or low. So start off with, it's going to be progression and speed. Now for me, most of the starting zones are pretty good. They're not too bad at all. In fact, if the rest of Classic World of Warcraft would have been the same kind of linear, or excuse me, pacing as most of the starting zones, it would have been a lot less grindy and a lot more um, uh, streamlined, I would say. But for Teldrassil, I think it's one of the classic starting zones that kind of falls down in terms of progression and speed. Now, why? Well, after Shadowglen, after you reach level 5 and you leave your immediate starting zone, like all of the starting zones have their semi starting zone, or the very first part. You know what I'm talking about. Um, it just kind of falls down a little bit to me, because you leave your little nest, right where you start. You don't really know much about the game if you're a new player, and then it kind of opens up. You head down the path, and then you get a quest from a satyr, and you're like, oh, who's this guy? What do I do with him? And then you're sent all over to kill, you know, birds and spiders and cats and collect things from them, which isn't a big deal, but you don't know how far you're supposed to go. There's no more limitations at this point. You don't really know what to do. And this is one of the most spread out quests for just after leaving your immediate starting zone, or starting section, I should say, of the starting zone. So for that, and then you move into Dalinar, and you're kind of, let loose. You can go all the way south and fight the swamp monsters. You can go, back west and fight the furbolgs again. Head northeast and fight more. It falls apart just a little bit. By no means do I think it's terrible, but if I had to rank it in high or low, it's going to be on the low section. So now we're going to move into the questing and difficulty kind of section. So for me, nothing in Teldrassil really just stands out for me as, that quest. It was such a great quest. I mean, do you remember the first time you did that quest? Like, there wasn't really that part of a section of Teldrassil for me. Some of the parts that kind of stood out were going around and filling up the moon vials and stuff like that, because, ooh, I have no idea what that is. But overall, there's not just one quest, in a good way, I should say, that stands out for me. There is one bad, and I think a lot of people know what it is, but I'll get into that in a minute. And now finally is difficulty. So for the most part, Teldrassil is not bad. You don't need a lot of people, you don't need a group, but then you come to the Banithel Barrow Den. And I'm confident that anyone who ever played Classic World of Warcraft knows the struggles of the Banithel Barrow Den. Because not only were there so many mobs clumped up with a giant aggro radius that vanilla is known to have, but also a lot of them could heal. The shamans could heal. And the second character I ever made as a night elf was a hunter, like a lot of people. And once I got to the shaman, I felt so stupid because I couldn't kill one. Once a shaman got into your melee range, it could heal, and its mana could regenerate faster than you could kill it, so it could heal and then it would kill you. And by the time you killed it, another one, maybe if you miraculously killed it, another one would spawn, and you just wouldn't really make any progress. Now, in my opinion, there aren't really other parts of the starting zone that I can really think of than that, except for maybe like Elwyn Forest and the Murlocs, but that's almost a little bit different because it's outworld. Like, you're very cramped up in the Banthel Barrow Den, and right now in the background you can see um, the infamous collect the relics quest. That is the one quest that really comes to mind for me, but not exactly in a good way, if you know what I mean. So this little den, for me, I have more memories probably than anything else in Teldrassil, because another funny story about me is that for some reason, one day, I freaked out because I thought that if I hit log out instead of exit game, that my character was still there. So I called my mom after I had been at my dad's house for a day and a half and just begged her to get on my account to exit the game out for me, because I thought that because I logged out there and didn't exit the game that I was going to be killed, and that for some reason I wasn't going to be dead already. So anyway, I give her the password and try to get her to be able to get on, and she finally gets on and she dies immediately, and then I freak out and I have to wait the next day to come back. So that's one of the biggest newbie moments I have in the history of World of Warcraft. But anyway, moving on. Um, this Banithel Barrow Den is pretty insane for new players, and it's pretty difficult. So that's why I have to put it in a low section of this video, because it's just a little bit too much to be in inner dungeon type style with definite need for other players if you want to make it through it and do all the quests. But let's stop talking about the lows and move on to the highs, because I think Teldrassil is definitely a high. Um, Blizzard definitely delivered with the zone. A lot of people enjoy it. I really enjoyed it playing through it, especially for my first character. And we'll start off with the atmosphere. So as soon as you hit create character and you hear that announcer telling you the background of the Night Elves, you're just immersed in the naturey mindset, night elf culture. You know what you're getting into. You know that they're going to be very nature based, that it's going to be very lush, and their culture is going to revolve around this magic about druids and trees that you're hearing about. And for me, it was just amazing logging into that. That was just the coolest thing ever. And the fact that I picked a druid for my very first character just made it even better. So I think that's the absolute highest point of Teldrassil, is the atmosphere and just the absolute just feel that you get, because you get this feeling where you want to be the one who does well. You want to be the one, like the announcer says, to find your place in the world as one of the last few night elves, right? And you want to stay off the Burning Legion's corruption that's going into the roots of Teldrassil, this mighty tree that you're on. That, I mean, I didn't even know I was on a tree, honestly. I didn't know that's what they were talking about. But anyway, um, I think the atmosphere is really good, really, really good for Teldrassil, real high point. And going along with atmosphere, I guess, would be music. And I think the music is another point where they delivered on, because the music is just so unique. And if you think about it, you go back and play anything in World of Warcraft today, you know that that's Night Elf music, and it's just really good, really awesome. And then finally finishing out is that lore, like I was saying before, like, you just know what Night Elves are about. You know what they've been through. I mean, it's been 4 years since the Shattering, excuse me, not the Shattering, but 4 years since the Burning Legion was pushed back, and now you don't have your immortality, and it's just a scramble, and it's just great. I think it's a great zone. So overall, finishing this up, that's the end of the highs. I think it's overall a very high zone. It's going to be on a high list. It's for me packed with memories, not only for me, but I'm guessing a lot of other people too. Their very first characters were night elves, and it was just great, overall great, and it's just really unique. So anyway, that was my first video. I hope you guys like it. You guys can let me know in the comments what you thought about it, for any suggestions that you have, and if you like it, please subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next video. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I think it's going to be another of these high and lows, but that's all for now. Thanks guys, hope you enjoyed it. Bye.